And I thought I wouldn't have too many Dragon Age videos out for this week, but again, this is the self-opening piñata of a video game, along with all of those involved with it, including the media. The game's media just can't make up their minds when it comes to this game. At first they all loved it, shouted from the rooftops that all of us had to run out and buy it right there. It was the true return to form for BioWare, better than Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. It was like the good old days. Then the leaks happened, and stuff was really not matching up, even with some comments from critics citing that they really liked the approach of the non-binary story parts within Veilguard, and how those were really well done and they didn't feel like a lecture. And yet, those leaks really gave us all a peek at how pushy it really was. Then when the game launched, the player count really wasn't there, as the game failed to even hit 100,000 players just on Steam alone. For a big RPG studio like BioWare, this was not looking good at all. Then the media sort of did a bit of that backpedaling. They tried to read the room and saw that the majority of the players were not interested in what this title was offering. So then the articles came out where the media was like, well, actually the game really isn't that good, even though we gave it 9s and 10s. And now it seems like they're flipping back the other way again. They can't seem to make up their mind with any sort of messaging they want to go in, and their recent efforts are pretty hilarious considering everything surrounding Dragon Age the Veilguard, because the game director of that title, Corinne Busche, is being hailed as the ruler of RPGs. So the inverse returns again for some kissing of the cheeks of Dragon Age the Veilguard, and they have an article where the title is probably the most ridiculous thing ever. Corinne is the ruler of RPGs, and the conqueror of hate. First of all, I had no idea I was dealing with royalty as it pertains to this game. Let me take a moment and bow. Honestly, a title like this for this article, where a discussion takes place with the developer or creative, would actually be funny in a different kind of situation. If we were in a world where Dragon Age the Veilguard actually turned out to be a good game, then something cheeky like this would be played off more for fun than really what it is now, because since we're living in this world, this all feels extremely disingenuous. So this game director helped to usher in one of the biggest gaming flops that we have seen so far, and easily one of the most disappointing titles of this year, and is now being named the ruler of RPGs. Why not put that name on someone else or other devs that actually made games that were great achievements or honestly just really good? Like say Drew, who wrote the original Mass Effect along with some of the other early BioWare titles. Maybe the head writer of Fallout New Vegas, the father of Final Fantasy, or something like that. Here you are throwing out a title to a person that really hasn't earned that type of praise, as it pertains to the RPG genre. Maybe it should have been the destroyer of RPGs, or something along those lines. That seems a bit more appropriate. As I understand it, Corinne had a background in working on The Sims and then came on to direct this game. Now sure, that is a drastic change in genre. You might think that Corinne doesn't really have this skill set that would be transferable to an RPG, and I could see concern for that for sure. But there have been other times where developers have shifted and worked on different genres before, and that turned out pretty well. But in this case, it would be a sign and a clear message with the end product that Corinne did not know how to helm this game at all. The article quotes Corinne by saying that there's a lot of accountability to be authentic for the Dragon Age fanbase, and yet there are way too many examples of inauthenticity. You brought back Varric. The article even mentioned how much of a great character and how much the fanbase loves him and Bianca, and then you cast him aside like he was nothing, used for a means for some cheap shock value, totally devaluing the character and Bianca. Then look at how elements of the prior Dragon Age games were just outright ignored or retconned. So which is it? Do you care, or do you not really care about the legacy of these games? You say one thing and then you do another through the game you actually made. Something else I found interesting was how the article spent a good amount of time focusing on the game director and their transitioning while they were working at BioWare. Elements of identity and such were seen in Veilguard, and discussed through Rook and Tosh. During the interview, Corinne very much points out that exploring identity was more so a big goal of Veilguard and something that they really wanted to further with this title. This feels like a situation of the director needing that feeling of being able to see themselves represented within the game, rather than what would actually work for the story. Gamers generally do not care about this type of stuff. They want fun. They want entertainment. I don't need to see myself to enjoy a game. I'm currently playing through some of the Tomb Raider titles. I'm not a lady treasure hunting adventurer who can easily jump around and explore tombs or is really good at solving puzzles, like she does, but I'm swept up into Lara's adventure because she is a compelling character, not because I need to see myself in her to emotionally buy into her journey. Sometimes, and well, most of the time, you just need a well-written character. The rest of the article then goes into the hate campaign that this game has gone under, along with it being an item of the culture war. Corinne talks about making games where players feel like they need to belong. I think again they just missed the mark on this. Look, I really enjoyed the Fallout games, but I don't want to belong there. It's a horrible world to live within, but it makes for an interesting location to set your video game within. I think the authenticity that Corinne continually talks about also relates to a minority of players that put politics over entertainment, rather than the majority of people that want a great piece of entertainment. I think I can speak for many when I say we just want to escape from some of the nonsense that we see on a day-to-day basis, or we just want to sit back and enjoy a good story, something to get absorbed within, not to be reminded continually of the crazy progressive nonsense that is out there. Enough with trying to shove that crap down our throats. This entire article makes for a great example, how this title has had so much gaslighting by the media. The inverse barely goes into what makes Dragon Age the Veilguard great as an RPG. Corinne is supposed to be this great god within the RPG space, yet she only has made one RPG and failed at that. When given the keys to such a rich property and a great foundation that was given to you, what do you do with it? You take every opportunity to ignore what came before, what people loved before, and you use this access to this IP as a means to self-insert yourself into the game, essentially rebooting the series by just focusing on elements that really aren't in line with the established fiction. If this was always the case, then just make your own new property. Look, if we were in a situation where Dragon Age the Veilguard still struggled through its development, let's just say it was very buggy, had performance issues at launch, but the guts of it were not bad. Like, you could see that the developers were trying to make the best out of a bad situation, and they ended up needing more time once they found that direction they wanted to take. Then I would have probably gone to bat for you. But here, right now, you do not care about the fanbase you are inheriting, nor the legacy of this series at all. This entire article is a giant fluff piece that doesn't realize how far it's up its own butt. If you are crowning someone as the great RPG maker, then they better, well, you know, have made a few great RPGs, along with complaining about the hate campaign. Look, gamers are very passionate people. I am one of them. If they love something, you will know. And if they did not love something, you will most certainly know that as well. So in this case, many members of the fanbase are displeased with what you did. Stop doing these types of interviews. If anything, you're making the situation worse. Take the loss, go silent, and work tirelessly to ensure that Mass Effect does not end up in the same situation as Veilguard. The less talking you do about Veilguard, the better. Drop it and forget about it, kind of like the redheaded stepchild that it is. What do you think about all of this? Is Corinne the best RPG maker of all time? Who are some of the actual great RPG makers that we have seen? Let me know all of this in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.